Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, where we interview remarkable people and share strategies for mastering money and living a meaningful life. With your host, Grant Sabatier, creator of Millennial Money and author of Financial Freedom, a proven path to all the money you will ever need.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited today on the Financial Freedom Podcast. I have a guy that I've followed for years and really learned the travel rewards and travel hacking game from. He's the OG travel rewards guy, none other than Brian Kelly, the points guy, thepointsguy.com. Man, it is a true honor to be chatting with you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's dive into travel rewards. I mean, it's something, certainly getting more popular. Everyone wants to travel for free or travel for less. Can you talk a little bit about what travel rewards are and how have they changed over the, 4 or 5 plus years that you've been doing this?
Well, I think actually last week was our 9th anniversary of hitting publish on my first blog post. So it's been a whirlwind 9 years, but I think the biggest thing is, travel rewards are currency. And I think that's when people put that in their mindset that by accruing miles and points, you can pretty much do anything these days. You can get amazing experiences, you can take fabulous trips, and, as the, millennial generation really values experiences. I think that's why we've seen so many people get in on it because, if you're smart with your credit card, you spend, you really can live a better life and save a ton of money while doing it.
So credit cards, I mean, it's something, a lot of people tell you to stay away from them. I personally, for the past, 5 years or so have been, I think, managing my points pretty well. Like anything, you need to be responsible with it. For the person that's listening to this, that's just like, gosh, that sounds so complicated. How could I even begin starting? Is it really that complicated to optimize your travel rewards? And where can someone start if they haven't started yet?
Yeah, it can be tricky, as you get more advanced. I mean, the thing is this, like miles and points, like I said, are a currency, and the more you mine your knowledge in them, the more value you get. So unlike, the US dollar, which will fluctuate, or Bitcoin that goes crazy, points and miles, you can make more valuable by investing and learning more about them. So I think, and you're totally right, if you are in credit card debt or can't manage your monthly finances and getting a credit card might throw you out of whack, absolutely do not get into rewards. Focus on paying off your debt and getting it to a place, because the way you win is by getting the right credit cards, putting everything you can on your cards and then paying it off in full every month, so you avoid the interest. If you're paying interest, it's going to negate the value of any of the points earned. So the real key is getting into a groove where you're paying off your bills in full, but then you're reaping not only the points, but also the perks. That's like the biggest trend. There's so many different issuers and ways to get points, but people really need to start paying attention to the different perks that cards can give you, which can save you tons and tons of money.
Are travel rewards getting more lucrative or less lucrative in your opinion? Because I hear generally people are like, "Oh, the game's changed. It's not like it used to be."
So here's the deal. I mean, in general, airlines and hotels, because so many people are getting more and more points through credit cards and other ways, yes, there's a sort of inflation that's happening in the marketplace where 5 years ago, it was easier to get a 25,000 mile, domestic economy award. That was kind of the standard. Nowadays, you're looking at 40 to 50,000 or even more, depending on the route. However, that's not all doom and gloom, because what's happened on the earning side is that there now are more, really lucrative credit card offers out there. So not only do you get sign-up bonuses, which today are 50 to 100,000 plus points or miles for getting a single card, but the game is really all about perks now too. So whether that's lounge access, and now perks, MasterCard just rolled out a partnership with a bunch of different partners like Postmates, where you get $5 off every purchase of 25. Lyft, for every 5 rides, you get $10 up to 12 times a year. So, I mean, these things add up. So you're getting the points for the sign-up bonus. You're getting points for the category bonus, up to 5x on airfare on certain cards. And then you're triple dipping. And then you're also getting the platform perks as well. And there's also a ton of other protections as well on purchases that really add up. So yes, while points and miles have been devalued to an extent, the rate at which you can earn them and the value of the perks has increased substantially.
I love that. I love thinking about it as really a currency, and that there's a high ROI in investing, maybe not tons of time, but just some time in learning how all of this works. It sounds, I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces here. There's travel rewards, there's lounge rewards, there's now, it sounds like MasterCard's doing some cool stuff with Lyft and Postmates. How can someone keep track of all of this? I mean, it's obviously probably easier to do with one card, but how can...
It can be confusing, some platforms will make you sign up for different perks and promotions, and they rotate categories, and it's really dizzying. But the MasterCard benefits, for example, are automatic. So as long as you use a World or Elite MasterCard, you'll automatically get, and they also have with Boxed 5% cash rewards on purchases and Fandango. That's all automatic. So, if you shop at those partners by just using your MasterCard, it's automatically going to come off at the statement level. There's no extra hoops to jump through. Different issuers are different. Sometimes you need to opt in for rewards. But what I would tell people is the first step, look at what you spend your money on, the companies that you, and what your goal is. If you want cash back, get a Citi Double Cash card. It's 0 annual fee, and it's essentially 2% back when you pay your bill on time. Plus, you get all those different perks because it's a MasterCard. So, whether you want cash back or you want to travel in first class like me, which is my favorite way to use points, there are cards out there for you. So take a look at your finances, what you're spending money on every month, and then align it to a credit card that's going to reward you for those purchases.
I love that you brought this up, because first class travel is also a huge passion of mine. Whenever I fly over 3 hours, I always use miles to get a first class ticket. That's something that for a lot of people who've never traveled first class, it truly is a premium experience and actually makes a difference. But people think it's so inaccessible. Can you talk about how you use travel rewards to travel first class? Is that something that someone can do just by signing up for a card? How long does it take to accrue those miles? Can you talk a little bit about how first class travel, is it more accessible?
The thing, especially if you're flexible, so, the airlines want to fill every single seat in a plane. They don't want, seats to go out empty. And the old adage was that, for award seats, they would release 2 seats 11 months in advance, and, whoever gets those seats first then gets the first class seat. But the airlines have actually gotten pretty sophisticated. So they'll release awards randomly throughout the year based on how well the site or, the plane is selling. But the airlines make billions off of these rewards. They sell billions and billions of dollars worth to the credit card companies who then give them to consumers. So the thing is, they actually want you using your miles. There's a lot of people think there's this myth that, I'll never be able to use my miles. You absolutely can. And especially for first class. If you go to Asia, first class ticket's going to be $10,000. But once you learn how to use, your credit card points, transferred to different partners, that's one thing I would say. If first class travel is what you want, I would get a credit card that offers you the ability to transfer to a number of different partners. So we call them the transferable points programs. And what that does is it allows you to transfer and, based on where you want to go and what airline has availability, to book those awards. But especially last minute, airlines will open up a ton of space within 2 weeks of departure, because they can't realize the value of the miles that they sold to the credit card companies until you redeem them. So there's more ways than ever to redeem. And even if, your company books you in premium economy, you can use miles and points to upgrade. So, with the sometimes up to 100,000 point sign up bonus, getting a single credit card can get you a free flight. So it is a little bit tricky. Sometimes you got to figure out which partners. But that's what, at the Points Guy, we have a team now of 60 writers, and if you Google anything, how to use, American Airlines miles to go to Asia, our team of experts has already done all the hard work. So we definitely, make it easy. And we actually just refreshed our beginner's guide this week to help bring you through step by step, because there's more than credit cards too. Online shopping, you can get free airline miles or credit card points by going through certain portals. So it's a whole strategy, and I guarantee you, it sounds confusing, but once you get into this points world, you will get hooked.
Would you go as far to say that it's never been easier to travel for less?
Absolutely. With so many different, credit card companies and the perks and the points. And I'll say, and this is pretty U.S. focused. We just launched the Points Guy in the U.K. A couple months ago, and points earning is much less lucrative in the U.K. and most other countries. It's really rich here in the U.S. There's a lot of different competition for consumers, so there's no better time for consumers to get in and get these really lucrative credit cards.
So let's go back and talk about the MasterCard reward, because that's really interesting. That's something that I haven't seen many companies do, as well as a lot of people, at least it took me a while to realize this, just because you get a bank or get a credit card from, say, a certain bank, if it's a MasterCard or, say, a Visa, there might be additional benefits that go beyond just those offered by your bank. Is that true?
Exactly. So, for example, let's talk. I have a Citi American Airlines MasterCard, right? So that card, they've got a bunch of different ones that may get you into the lounge. You earn extra American Airlines miles, which are among the most valuable currencies out there. But in addition, because it's a World Elite MasterCard, you're going to get, the Lyft credits, the Postmate credits. Another thing, though, is also cell phone protection. On World MasterCards, you're going to get $600 automatically in cell phone protection and $800 on a World Elite card. So if you're going to go out and buy an iPhone, in addition to earning American Airlines miles on that purchase, you're also going to get, up to $800 per claim for loss or damage to your particular phone. So, perks like that can really add up, especially if you're like me, and I'm the worst. I don't even have a screen protector on my phone. But yeah, so you get the feeling of protection, and you're automatically earning, Postmates. One of my trip, I'm always in hotels, and I hate, hotel room service is so overpriced. It's so bland. So whenever I travel in hotels, I use Postmates to order local, amazing, Thai food. And not only do I earn points on it, but then you get $5 off every purchase of $25, which really adds up.
So let's talk a quick bit about travel. You have the unique vantage point of having, you've been to just so many incredible places all around the world. One of the challenges that I've seen as I've traveled more is that places are just getting so crowded. And even something that's off the beaten path, within a couple years, it starts getting crowded. What are some of the tips that you found to kind of make the most of the experience of travel? Are you going on off-peak times? How have you optimized your travel?
Absolutely, yeah. Over-tourism is a huge issue. We see it a lot, in Venice and Amsterdam. Barcelona's kind of waving their hand and saying, no more. Airbnb is great, but it also puts out locals. So the travel, it's amazing. I do believe we're currently living in the golden age of travel, in that it's still really cheap to fly. You can get flights to Asia from New York for under $400. That's crazy. So travel more than ever is accessible. Yes, in the back of the plane or airlines, jamming more seats in coach for sure, but that allows people to travel cheaply. Now, what I would recommend is push yourself outside your comfort zone. That's what travel's all about. So, yes, everyone's going to Europe in the summer, but actually my favorite time to go to Europe, February, March in Paris is beautiful. It's generally not that cold, but it's, put on a coat and walk around like one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And, don't just go to the, Caribbean, push yourself to go explore, instead of skiing in Aspen in February, go skiing in Chile in July. So I don't know. I think as easy as it is to get in a habit and go to the same place over and over, I highly recommend exploring new destinations. And that's the fun of miles and points. When you have a huge stash, let your miles and points take you where you want to go. Go last minute and redeem points to go somewhere you've never been. I actually just got back from Ghana this weekend. I've been 8 times. Unbelievable country, people, food. So yeah, I highly recommend to explore new destinations.
Do you just travel all the time? Is that your life, or do you ever get tired of traveling?
People think that, and if you follow me on Instagram at Brian Kelly, it may look like I'm just on planes all the time, but actually we have almost 100 employees now and growing rapidly. So the boss has to be in the office now. So it's kind of funny that as the site has gotten more and more successful, the less I get to travel. But I'm making no complaints. I get to travel quite a good bit, but I usually do one big trip a quarter.
What's the favorite place that you've been in the last year?
I'm a huge, I guess I'm going to go 2. So my number one all-around favorite is South Africa. It's just an absolutely beautiful, physically country, from Cape Town. Have you ever been before?
I haven't, no. I've been to Uganda and Tanzania and Ethiopia, but never South Africa.
South Africa, you've got Cape Town, which is this beautiful city on the beach. You go in the water, there's penguins. Wine country right outside of Cape Town is blows away Napa in terms of physical beauty. And then safari. So I've been on a bunch of safaris across Africa, but Kruger and Sabi Sands is my absolute favorite. But I would also recommend Guatemala. Guatemala is so stunningly beautiful, and I think a lot of people think it's dangerous, and for sure there are pockets of Guatemala City that you probably don't want to go to, but go an hour outside to the town of Antigua, and it is the most charming colonial, really, really cool city, and it's just Lake Atitlan is like Lake Como times a million. It's so spiritual. You feel that Mayan energy. So I've been to Guatemala now 5 times, so it gets better each and every time.
So you made a comment about how Point Sky is growing. You have over 100 employees. As you were growing the site, were you able to leverage the miles that you were getting from your business cards as well before, or is that something that you were able to do?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I launched a vlog a couple months ago called Being the Points Guy. And our first ever episode actually, was very vulnerable and I take viewers into my Amex and other different accounts. And that's really how I earn most of my points. I actually sold the company years ago. And part of my deal when I sold the company was that I would still get to put all the company expenses on my credit cards.
Ooh, nice.
And that's how we fund a lot of our travel. So yeah, so we're making millions of points a month, based on different airfare purchases, social media, marketing. Now there's cards out there that'll give you bonuses for Google ad spend. So that's when you look at what you're spending your money on, get cards that reward for that. But even our offices, I put all of our expenses on a MasterCard, and get 5% cash rewards on Boxed, which is an awesome company. So yeah, so it's so I'm still maximizing, 9 years later and as we've grown, but I'm still looking at every single dollar. How can I get the most value back, and not just points, but also perks? Because it really does add to the bottom line.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's, when I hear over and over people saying, oh, I just use my debit card or I just use cash, they don't realize that they're missing out on not only incredible perks, but the opportunity to literally travel the world. Or even if you don't like travel, there's so many other benefits just to using cards. I mean, it's just such a remarkable time.
And it kills me when I see people using debit cards. So you're not earning points, but you're not protections. Like the credit card companies add a huge layer of protection. If your card, these days, it's so easy to, people will steal, and especially in foreign countries, they will swipe your the strip in an ATM machine. And if you're using a debit card and someone drains it, and they may reimburse you, but it might take weeks or months for that claim to go through. You put something on your MasterCard and you've automatically got that protection, and you have that peace of mind. And they're not going to, lock up your cash as you go through a dispute. those protections really give a peace of mind, especially when traveling around the world. And also, a lot of debit cards will charge crazy fees when you're abroad, foreign transaction fees. So it's important you get a credit card that, if you're traveling internationally, that doesn't have foreign transaction fees, and there's a ton of them out there.
Is there truly kind of one best travel rewards credit card? I mean, there's always this debate about this card is better than that card is better than this card. It sounds like you use Amex and Citi, and you're diversifying. Can you talk about, is there one best card, and if not, why do you diversify?
Yeah, there's no one best card because it depends on what you spend your money on. There's so many different category bonuses. It depends what airline miles you want. If you want American Airlines miles, there's no Citi or there's no Amex or Chase card that's going to give you AA miles. You have to have a Citi card. So it really just depends on what you want. And also really look at the perks as well. Free check bags on airlines can save tons of money. So yeah, I highly recommend put together, I personally have, about 20 credit cards because this is my business and I have to, but I don't recommend everyone getting 20 credit cards. But interestingly, how FICO works, you can go to FICO's website and they will tell you there is like a 2 to 5 point ding when you open up a new card, but it's temporary. But your credit score actually goes up with the more available credit you have. So if you get a new card that, say has $20,000 limit and you're not using it, you're paying it off in full every month, your score goes up over time. So that's what I love, educating people on how credit works and having available credit with several issuers so that no matter where you go, you're accepted, actually helps your credit score. So I know I highly recommend people start low, but yeah.
Whenever you go to buy something, do you have one of those wallets that has all 20 of your
The
cards?
George Costanza wallet,
Yeah.
that's like jam packed. No, I've got like 3 cards that cover most like my everyday expenses. The Citi Prestige has 5x on dining, which is why I eat quite a bit and do a lot of entertaining. So 5x points on all my dining, that's outrageous. So yeah, it just depends. I have a lot of cards. I store them all in an online OnePass. So when I'm shopping online, I can just select which one I want. But we are coming out with a TPG app later this year that will actually analyze all the credit cards and help you pick the right one for the purchase you're about to make. So we'll do all the heavy lifting for you.
That's smart. Yeah, I've definitely seen a need for that in the market. So it's the golden age of travel. You said it yourself. How long can this last? I mean, is this something, you've been doing it 9 years. It seems like it's not only gotten more popular, but it's grown. It's, if you're into it and do a little bit of study, it's kind of never been easier to use travel rewards to have incredible experiences. Do you see an end in sight, or is this just something where you think it's going to be around for a while?
This is going to be around for a while. I mean, if you look at the airlines, it's, selling their loyalty programs are their profit centers. A lot of airlines make more money with their loyalty program than they do actually flying planes. And the credit card companies, they charge merchants for every transaction that you buy. And the fact of the matter is, we're not going to cash. It's the other way around. More and more retailers are actually not accepting cash at all because when you use cash at a store, they've got to worry about, employee theft and accounting. When you use a card, they get paid much quicker. They can run analytics. It's all about data these days. So we're not moving back to a more cash society. What I love about points is that everyone can benefit. The travel companies that have their co-branded credit cards, the credit card companies, merchants. Now people will generally spend more on a credit card because they have that peace of mind. So my goal is making sure that consumers, once they accrue all these points and have all these perks on their cards, get the most value. But in an ideal, everyone can win. And frankly, it's the people not earning points that are kind of paying for it for everyone else. So the only real big impediment to points and miles would be if we pass legislation like they have in Europe, which highly capped the interchange rate. So it's not nearly as lucrative, to use credit cards there. But especially with this administration, I don't foresee any, regulations coming anytime soon. But that could kind of hamper points earning if they capped cap that rate.
So one of my favorite things when I travel around the world is the elusive celebrity or famous person sighting. I've had the opportunity to sit next to NBA players on planes and actors. I know just because you are you and you live such an amazing life, you've gotten to hang out with Martha Stewart and Richard Branson and probably just incredible people. What's one sighting that you've had on a plane, whether it's someone famous or not, that just floored you?
Well, this is actually kind of one of my first blog posts. It was in 2011. I made a mistake of taking a sleeping pill before the plane took off, which I highly recommend. Don't do. Don't take your sleeping pill until wheels are in the air, because I was at JFK, and JFK to London's a really short flight, but I was in British Airways first class, my first time using points, and I had taken my sleeping pill because I wanted to maximize my time, sleeping. And it starts to hit me, and then we get a weather delay, and then the last person to walk on the plane is Madonna, and she's sitting in front of me.
Oof.
And we were delayed, and she was she was hysterical. She was like, the captain came out and apologized for Mother Nature because, it was a rain delay. And I'm like sitting there in my haze, like, oh my God, this is like, don't fall asleep. And it was like, I wanted to experience, she's such an icon. So the Madonna story, and actually I did talk to her in the morning, and she was super nice. So I sat next to Danny DeVito once. He was hysterical. He right as the plane was taking off, he jumped up and get in the overhead bin, which any normal plebe they would scream at to sit down, but they were so starstruck by him, and everyone was just laughing at him that I think he actually had to stand on the seat in order to reach the overhead bin. He's on the a shorter side.
Yeah, shorter, definitely shorter than you. As you travel all around the world, one of the things that I've personally noticed is that maybe last 3 to 5 years, travel just seems to have gotten easier. Fewer of my flights are delayed. The travel experience from, just seats being a lot more comfortable and more spacious. And is that something you've noticed as well? It just seems to be really comfortable and pretty easy to travel these days.
Yeah. If you know how to do it, it's really, I arrive at the airport usually 45 minutes before takeoff. I've got TSA pre-check, which highly, highly recommend you get. I generally don't wait in security more than 5 minutes. Clear is something that's great. It's in about 40 airports now. Clear allows you to even get to the front of the TSA pre-check line. Lounges are pretty nice these days. There's all sorts of ways to use credit cards to get into airline lounges for free. And then even in terms of immigration, a global entry is a must. It's $100 for 5 years. You also get pre-check if you sign up for it. But whenever I land, sometimes at JFK, the immigration line's an hour. I get through usually in under 60 seconds. And in the UK, they just now allow U.S. citizens to go through the expedited gates. So it's like a minute to get through customs there. Brazil just waived the visa process for U.S. citizens. And the U.S. dollar is still really strong. So I highly encourage, and it's a mindset too. When you get to the airport, if you're defeated and if you don't do your research on what your fare class includes, whether it's carry-on or expedited boarding, yes, it can be unenjoyable, but doing a little bit of research and getting in the mindset of I'm going to win, and it is still amazing to be able to travel and just have a positive attitude. Don't scream at the gate agent when there's a huge thunderstorm and you're delayed. Just chill out. I think if everyone just chilled out a little bit, they'd enjoy travel a whole lot more.
I think that's a great piece of advice. Just take it as it comes. Enjoy the ride. It's never been easier in history to travel. Man, we've covered so much ground. I knew you'd bring the value, but this is just incredible, Brian. Anything that I didn't cover that my audience, they're from all over the world, mostly people in their 20s and their 30s who have decided to use money to live a life that they love. And anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to share with them.
No, I mean, I think just back to the original point, miles and points are a currency. They're all around us, every purchase, and you should be collecting them. If you're not in the points game, get the right credit card for you that's going to reward you. At the Points Guy, we've got our whole beginner's guide that'll take you through step by step. We'll even link to sign up for loyalty programs that are almost all free to do. Do a little bit of research, and the rewards. I will say we have, about 10 million monthly readers now. I get the joy of people coming up to me, this changed my life. I'm able, people are able to visit family, because miles and points, if you have a death in the family last minute, those flights are crazy expensive. So once you have a stockpile of miles and points like you do, it changes your mindset on life. It's a pretty freeing feeling. And who doesn't like to, not give the airlines any more money than they have to? So it's a fun game. Take it slow in the beginning. Don't get overwhelmed. But I have never in 9 years gotten an email saying, hey, I got into points and I wasn't able to do anything cool. Or, hey, I got a credit card and my score went down over time, as long as people are paying their bills. So it takes a little bit of responsibility, but the rewards and the perks that you can reap are well worth it.
Yeah, it's another form of financial freedom. Makes it such an amazing time that we live in. Well, I want to thank you, man, for the inspiration. I get almost 1 million visitors a month to Millennial Money. Was watching you early on, what you were doing, learned so much from the Points Guy, just how you grew your audience and your blog, and just wanted to thank you for that inspiration, as well as just all you've done to mainstream this idea. I mean, just thinking about the compounding impact that you've had on so many people, probably taking millions and millions of trips that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have. So, dude, keep doing it. It's a real honor, a real pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast. Where can people find you, Brian?
You can go to thepointsguy.com, and we're at The Points Guy on social, and on Instagram, I'm at Brian Kelly. And congrats on what you've built, too, an amazing platform. I love the helping people live better lives through, being smart about their finances. So congrats and safe travels.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to the Financial Freedom Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe. To learn more, get show notes, and dive deeper, visit financialfreedombook.com.